All right, so let's talk about percent yield and why it's important for you guys to understand how that works when it comes to vegetables. We talk about yield a lot when it comes to when we talk about meat products, just because people think, oh, they're so expensive. We need to understand it, and absolutely, they're correct. But vegetables, remember, a lot of these are supposed to be our money makers. So if we don't understand what the yield on these vegetables are, we might be costing us money. So that's not something that we want to happen ever in our establishment. So percent yield. So what we look at as far as what we yield, what a product yields for us, is understanding which part of the product is actually usable and sellable after peeling, trimming, discarding any unusable parts. I mean, all that stuff is really important. So knowing the percent yield is important when we know how many vegetables to actually purchase. So if you look at this cabbage, so if you're looking at the actual usable part of the cabbage, so actually the outside, the leaves right here, the green ones, a lot of those have to be peeled off, so they have to be discarded. And anything down here around the stem, I kind of call it the cabbage triangle. And you go like this, and this entire thing in each one has to be discarded. Now, obviously, looking at this, we're talking about the fibrous parts that we talked about earlier. Which is the heaviest part? Obviously, this right here, this part right here. And as you know, when you purchase this product, it's typically sold by the pound. So you are paying for a lot of the weight, the majority of the weight that you're going to discard. And it's unusable product. There's really nothing you can do with this one. Some vegetables you can use, some parts for stock or anything like that. When it comes to cabbage, this is completely unusable parts. So we need to understand, you know, how much of this product do we yield, and is that going to increase the cost of the product? So when we're looking at the yields, now some of you guys may recognize these, and that's because we're using exactly the same ones that we have used for other products. So AP, remember, that is the as purchased. So that is how we purchase the actual product. That is either the original weight or the original price, right? Then we have the yield percentage, which I just explained. And then we have what's called the EP, or the edible portion. And that is the servable product, the servable size, either in weight or the servable cost of the actual product. So these are the similar ones that you guys might have seen from other classes, but also in potentially cost control, if you guys have taken that class already. All right, so let's take a sample here. So if you need 10 pounds EP, which means edible portion, of asparagus for a recipe, how much fresh asparagus should you buy? So automatically, if you've ever worked with asparagus, you know that you buy the asparagus, and definitely there's at least a little part on the end that needs to be discarded, that you absolutely cannot use for anything. Now, but when you buy it, you have to purchase the entire thing. Also, when you purchase the product, you know that it is sold by the pound. So let's say you are serving, you need 10 pounds to actually serve to your guests. So this is, let's say you're doing a catered event, you're a chef, and you know that you are serving a certain amount of ounces per each portion, and you need 10. So how much do you buy? If you just bought 10 pounds of asparagus, you would be short after you would cut all of the ends of the asparagus. Now, you might be like, all right, I'll just buy like, I don't know, 5 pounds over. Well, then you're buying way too much. You might have stuff left over that you can't sell or resell, and it might go bad. So you're wasting money. So is there a more accurate way of trying to calculate this? And the answer is yes. So what's really cool is that your textbook actually has shown you guys and has actually provided percentage yields for majority of the most common vegetables. Now, are these 100% correct? I would say 100%. They're probably like 98. So if you look at the percentages that are in your book, the one for asparagus is 55%. Now, some of you guys are like, oh my God, that's crazy. I only take off a little bit. Well, the proper way to actually prep asparagus is you take it, you kind of feel it, the hard stem, until it gets a little bit soft, and then you break it off, and then you take a peeler, and then you peel about 2 inches from the bottom, and you peel the bottom part. So you actually are 100% only utilizing about half of the product which you buy. So if we're looking at something like, if we need 10 pounds of asparagus, how much should we actually buy? Knowing that the yield on asparagus is 55%, which you can find in your book, but you always have that available to you. We would take the EP, which is the edible portion, we need 10. We divide it by the yield, which is 55. We convert that to 0.55, and that will give us 18.2 pounds. So knowing that, we know that in order to get 10 pounds of usable product, we would need to, as kitchen managers, chefs, or just restaurateurs, we would need to purchase 18.2 pounds of this product to get what we actually need. Does that make sense? So it kind of takes the guessing game out of purchasing, and it really makes you be way more efficient as an actual restaurateur. All right, let's take a look at this. If we have 20 pounds AP, that's as purchased, of red cabbage, how many pounds EP can we expect after trimming? Now, remember, we already talked about cabbage. You know, we know that there is definitely some unusable product as far as that is concerned. So if we have 20 pounds, how much can we expect after trimming? So we would flip turn the actual formula, and we would do AP weight times yield percentage, and that would give us our edible portion. So we would take our 20 pounds, that's original AP. We would multiply it by the yield that we have for cabbage, which is found in your textbook, and that's 80%, which is not bad. That's if it's done correctly, that's pretty good. So converting that into a decimal, so 0.80, multiplied by 20, we would find out that we get 16 pounds of usable red cabbage if we purchase 20. This is important because let's say you're making coleslaw, okay, or braised red cabbage, same thing. How much do I buy for the amount of portions that I need? So knowing this, it makes you way more efficient. Let's see. If you have 5 pounds of fresh broccoli and after trimming away inedible parts, you have 3 pounds, what is your yield percentage? This one is just simple math. So we would take your EP divided by your AP, and that's your edible portion divided by your original. 3 divided by 5. We would know that the yield on our broccoli is 60%, which might surprise some of you guys as well, but that's about it for a usable product, especially when it comes to just the florets. So now knowing that, okay, knowing this, and I just mentioned, I kind of gave the answer away. So if you are only going to be using the florets, let's say this is just for your personal pocket as well, just knowing that the recipe that you're using, you will not be using any part of the stem. You will just be using the florets. So when you go to the grocery store, what does it make sense for you to buy? The actual broccoli bunch with the stems that you're going to have to discard, but you have to pay for, or for you to actually buy just the florets. So these are just some practical decisions. Now knowing some of this stuff of you, and just to make sure that you are pinching pennies as far as you're concerned as well. Okay, so that is it for this week's lectures. We have a lot to cover, but as far as your assignments, they're actually not that difficult this week. So you have a quiz that you have to do, and then you have a short homework assignment. So I hope that you enjoy this week. I hope that you enjoy your experimental lab and working with Chef Alan in the cafeteria, and I will see you guys around.